Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, ladies and gentlemen of the House. This statute's been in place for a long, long time, and we shouldn't be changing it lightly. In 1906, the Iowa legislature passed a landowner property tax incentive we now know as the Forest and Fruit Tree Reservation Act to reduce or eliminate property taxes to incentivize landowners to hold their poorer lands in timber for erosion control, watershed protection, and game cover. And we have been presented with no evidence that this program is not achieving those goals. A version of this legislation seems to come up every General Assembly. Taking out the Forest Reserve Program seems to be an evergreen bill. It's okay to chuckle. Statewide, more than 832,000 acres are enrolled by up to 60,000 landowners. Many landowners have more than one parcel, so somewhat less than that number. By approving this bill, this body will be giving a green light to raising property taxes on all of those landowners. Since 1850, Iowa has lost 99% of our grasslands, 95% of our wetlands, and 75% of our forest lands. With this bill, we seem to be saying we want to catch up in our loss of forest lands. If that happens, in addition to losing our people, because a lot of the other legislation we are passing, Iowa would be losing a lot of the natural attractions that get people outside, but also bring tourists to this state. The woodland wildflowers, such as Virginia bluebells, snow trillium, Dutchman's breeches, spring beauties, cutleaf toothwort, that's just to name a few of the spring wildflowers starting to bloom now. Woodland birds that will be losing their habitat, the American woodcock, wood thrushes, pileated woodpeckers, brown creepers, pine siskins, to name a few. Are these landscapes and the inhabitants worth saving and protecting? I think our Department of Natural Resources forester and his colleagues could have given us some advice. Regrettably, the department spurned our bipartisan request to have the forester come to the Capitol to talk to us about the 211-page Iowa Forest Action Plan and how the Forest Reserve Program fits into that. The plan was updated in 2020. We also could have been briefed on the DNR's Forest Health Highlights, a report that was just issued 3 months ago in December. For example, as Representative Olson reminded me earlier today, what is the role of our forests and woodlands in achieving our own state's climate goals by reducing carbon dioxide and methane emissions? Why spend money to sequester CO2 in the soil, as we unanimously voted to do in House File 282, while at the same time cutting down our CO2-eating forests and woodlands? Now, I do agree that the Forest Reserve Program is an unfunded mandate on counties, cities, and schools. But if this Forest Reserve Program is important to the whole state, as it has been for going on 120 years, maybe DNR could recommend to us that we backfill that lost local revenue. That would cost the state less than $13 million a year, according to the fiscal note. We could put the money in the DNR budget, Representative Momsen. I suggested that approach to Representative Harris, but I did not hear back from him. Some of you may remember your U.S. history lesson and know that CCC stands for the Depression-era Civilian Conservation Corps, which is responsible for what many of our forested state parks look like today. I'm afraid that CCC now stands for something else when it comes to our Department of Natural Resources. You can ask me privately what I mean. But to say that I am hugely disappointed in DNR is an understatement. But enough about altruism and the environment. Let's get back to the direct economic impact on people that this bill will have and that each of us will have to be responsible for when counties exercise the power this bill gives them. In Dubuque County, up to 791 property owners will have their property taxes increased on 18,000 acres in 1,423 parcels. At least 180 parcels will automatically lose their exemption under this bill. Mr. Speaker, I'm wondering if Representative Osmundson is aware that over 700 property owners with 443,000 acres in Allamakee County could have their taxes raised. I'm wondering if Representative Kaufman is aware that perhaps 470 constituents will have their taxes, could have their taxes raised on 11,000 acres. I'm wondering if Representative Thompson is aware that 275 of his constituents in Chickasaw County will lose their exemption and have their taxes raised on 9,400 acres. 56,000 acres in Clayton County, Representative Osmundson. Wondering if, Mr. Speaker, if Representative Mompson knows that 400 of his constituents could have their property taxes raised on 13,000 acres in Clinton County. I could ask similar questions, Mr. Speaker, of Representative Johnson, Representative Ingalls, Representative Bradley, just down the road from me in Jackson County. I'm wondering if he knows that 700 landowners could have their taxes raised on 21,000 acres. Wapello County, Representative Wills, are you aware that 600 of your constituents have 16,000 acres registered in this program? Earlier I spoke about wildflowers and birds. I neglected the woodland butterflies. Important pollinators will be losing their habitat too. The mourning cloak, an overwintering butterfly, which you should be able to find out on your hikes now. The pearl crescent, the hackberry emperor, the wild indigo dusky wing, the eastern comma and question mark. They look very similar. If you can't tell them apart, ask me for my pictures and see if you can tell the difference. Mr. Speaker, with this misguided legislation, 2024 might be the last supper in Iowa for many birds, butterflies, wildflowers, not to mention forest-dwelling mammals. I will be voting no. I hope you do too.